Hi guys, how are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. I'm having a long weekend off of work, so feeling refreshed and lovely. And I saw a video about the way we are taught very often to be giving and how there's this unfortunate inclination to become over giving and to meaning we put everyone else's concerns before our own. So if somebody asks you for a favor, for example, there's this inclination for a lot of us to just say yes and do that, even if it's going to be a real hamper on the rest of your plans that day. That's the way we're kind of taught to be a good person means you're always doing favors when people ask for your help. And obviously, I'm not advocating to not help. That's not very kind. But the problem with always saying yes is that you're less inclined, because you have less time. You're less inclined to take care of yourself, because there's this idea that we form that if we take care of ourselves, that means we're being selfish, that means we're being antisocial, it means we're being bad, for lack of a better way of putting it. And I think, I would like to think anyway, that we're getting to a place, I think, although as soon as I say the words, I'm like, I don't know, maybe that's a bold statement. But I would like to think that more people, anyway, are beginning to recognize, oh, I am not actually doing the helping that I think I'm doing by constantly saying yes and then deprioritizing my own needs in order to be a good friend, sibling, spouse, parent, all of these things that we want to be for everybody else. And we just don't learn what we want to do or how we want to do it or how to take care of ourselves. That just gets completely lost in the name of, if everyone else is happy, then I too am happy. That's what it means. If everyone around me is good, then I'm good. It's something that we learn, and it's a shame because it's not actually true. It kind of goes back and links back to that expression that RuPaul popularized, that if you can't love yourself, then how in the hell are you going to love anybody else, right? And it's true. If we come at being loved and being cared about by others in our life in whatever capacity they are meant to, we forget ourself, and we are told that that is a good thing. But I can honestly say, from personal experience in a family where that was done, and then as a person who was in my own nuclear family situation where that was done, I have seen the ramifications of people around overgiving and not recognizing that there is a division there, that you have to be able to stop and be like, I really can't today. I really need to just, do this other thing, whatever it is. In my case, the things that I tend to do when I have some alone time, when I can sort of replenish, is I tend to get out my fabrics, which are they're kind of over here in a naughty little pile on the floor that I wouldn't normally allow. But I'm quilt making at the moment, so there's fabric. You might remember this over here, this quilt block that I showed in another video. Well, I have more. I have, I should have counted first. 1, 2. Yeah, there's 20. There's 20 more here in my lap. So that makes for 22 or whatever. There's a bunch. But they're all gonna go together in a funky little scrap quilt that I decided to make. Why did I decide to make this? Because I have fabrics to use that I've had some of these fabrics for an exceptionally long time. Not all of them, but some of them though I've had forever. But it is fun to go through and be like, oh yeah, I remember buying that. Or if you're me, you go through your fabrics and go, why did I buy so much of that? I don't know. It's not something I would pick. But it's fun to go through and play with the colors and designs and see what you can find, you know? Yeah, some of this fabric is just not my taste, and I'm really glad to be cutting through it and stitching it into stuff. I'm just having fun showing you now. This is actually a riff on an old quilt block, in case you care. This is a modified, modernized version of a block that I had. I don't think I have the book anymore. It was called Attic Windows in this quilt book, and this book was all replica quilts of 1930s designs, and originally this design has Y-seams in it. So like the setting triangles were set with Y-seams, and there was a Y-seam right here on the corner too. And I was just like, I can sew Y-seams. I know how to make Y-seams. My very first bed quilt has a ton of Y-seams in it. Do I want to sew them all the time in every block, like 8 of them? No, I really don't. It slows the process down tremendously for no real reason. So I just figured out the dimensions and cut it so that it would all be pieced with straight seams. None of this Y-seam, partial seam business. So I've been a busy person doing assembly line quilt making. But anyway, doing these kinds of things, as time consuming and all of that as they are, it really helps continue feelings of calm and sanity. When you can get fabrics of all different kinds like this to fit together into a square of a particular size that you want, all seems well with the world, you know? And there we are. It's just that little bit of, well, just that little bit of creative control, even though I hesitate to say control. Control is an illusion. It's not real. We really want to believe that it's real and that we can have it, but we don't. I can attest in a quilting kind of way, we really don't, because my God, you can measure your fabric so carefully and precisely and be absolutely sure that that is a 2.5 inch square. By God, I cut that accurately. And then you go to put it next, you know, sew it into something, and nope, there's like, it's just slightly angled in some kind of way because your hand moved when you were cutting or something. You know, these things happen. We're human beings. We like to think we have control over the fabric we're cutting at all times, but we really don't. We just have to take it as it comes and live with it, you know, when things go wrong. Or you'll feel depleted and as though you failed. Anyways, that's something that I like doing to kind of regenerate a little bit, because it's just me and fabric, and you know, I'm cutting the fabric or I am sewing it together and pressing it. So I've got my sewing machine and my iron out. You know, I don't need to have anything else going on. I can just do that. It's sort of like reading a really good book, or all I can think of are textile examples, or cross stitching or knitting or crocheting. It's something you can like focus on that is relaxing, even though it is time consuming and labor intensive. Because yeah, labor intensive, took a lot of time to do all of that. When you put a quilt together, you're taking pieces of fabric that are often quite large, cutting them down into small things, and then reassembling them in a particular configuration to make slightly bigger things. And often you're assembling those slightly bigger things into an even bigger thing that we call a quilt block, right? These are subunits, right? There's 4 to make one block. So these little units become bigger ones and then yet bigger ones. And there's a lot that happens in between. And sometimes your block turns out primo at the end. Other times, more often than not, if you're me, it's close. Am I going to be a show quilter one day? Probably not. But you know what? I don't care. That's not the goal. The goal is to find a pleasant, creative, comfortable way to, well, stay warm. Quilt making is great for helping keep you warm. It's warm work, and the end result, the end product, keeps you warm and cozy, so it works for me. Obviously, not everyone is going to do that, but you know what I'm saying. Hopefully you have an activity like that in your life already. If you don't, then that's also not a bad thing, because now you have the freedom to kind of figure out what that is. As kind of unsettling as that may be, you never know. You might be a fantastic woodworker, but you don't know yet. Or metalworker, or I don't know, heck, you know, upholstering. That's a good skill to have if you do. I could use your help if you do happen to have that skill. But you know what I mean. You might find out that you're really good at a particular sport, even. I'm not one of those people, but I know that there's emotional reward in athletics, if that's your thing. I respect that. It's not for me, but I do respect that that's true of others. So, you know, you just never know. Or you might find that you're a really good calligrapher or something. When you don't have any idea, then you have a lot of freedom to just cast your net, you know, and figure that out for yourself and enjoy that process. Take it as a good thing. I know the inclination can be to take it as a bad thing, but don't. I don't think you have to. So, I've prattled long enough, but now you know that's one of the reasons I do like to quilt make, is I can decide where the fabrics go and if it's good enough, or if I need to take something out and try again. There's power in that, and I feel like that's something we often feel that we lack. So that's what I have. I hope it was interesting and entertaining in some kind of way, maybe. Um, of course, engagement. It's engagement time. Subscribe button and video down there. I don't know why with my other hand, but there you go. It was nice to see you. Bye.